Good morning, Sault Ste. Marie. It's time for On Point again on TV. We're live on Facebook for Tuesday, March the 3rd. Brand new month. We've got Al Arrington here, who's the author of Gang Politics. We've got a lot to talk about: governance, democracy, all of that. And a reminder, like us on Facebook, subscribe to the Superior Media YouTube channel, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Angelo, it's me, Vito. Imbecile, your brother. Listen, you bring 10 gallons of flat eggshell or white paint.
Recently, the Government of Ontario established a $100 million affordability fund to help Ontarians who don't qualify for low-income conservation programs ease the burden of their electricity bill. Whether you rent or own your home, as long as you pay your electric bill, you could qualify. There are 3 levels of support available. The first is a home energy kit with upgrades like smart power bars and LED light bulbs. The second includes Energy Star appliances that help keep things cool during the hot summer months. The third is for electrically heated homes so that your power bills don't break the bank during those long Canadian winters. Plus, all upgrades, including installation, are completely free of charge. Visit affordabilityfund.org or call 1-855-494-FUND to find out if you qualify.
If you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, there is hope and there is help. You matter. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The calls are free and confidential. Call 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. You are not alone.
Welcome back to On Point. It's 11:03 in Sault Ste. Marie. We're live on Facebook, live on TV, and welcome back. He's going to be a regular contributor to On Point. Al Arrington, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much, Andy. I really appreciate being invited back to talk about government, governance, and politics.
This is Al's book, Gang Politics. Al, you see on the back of it, is democracy real, an illusion, or a con? Going to talk about that and a lot more. Let's start with this. Your co-author is Riley Smith, who's a very talented young lady. How did you and Riley meet in the beginning?
I was working for the Miss-Navy Cree on the Bear Train initiative for reinstating the Algoma Central Railway, and I needed an assistant. So we put out an advertisement to hire an intern, and Riley applied among other people, and she was by far the best candidate. She's a very focused person who really gets things done. She's a very impressive person to work with.
Totally. She was, of course, a co-host of mine with Civic Affairs here in 2018, early 2019. And anybody that works with Riley, as you have, Al, it doesn't take long to see that this young lady has superlative, far exceeding skills that will take her a long way. Now, how did you come up with the idea of your book, again, for the viewers that might have missed the last show that you were here on?
I've started studying governance quite a long time ago when I was president of Ontario's nature and outdoor tourism industry, and we had some governance issues in our own organization, so I really started studying it and doing a lot of my own governance development. But what was really frustrating is looking at, I was basically trying to get government to do things better, and I would talk to bureaucrats, politicians, etc., about doing things better, and I would get very good feedback, stuff like that, but very little got ever got done. And I started taking a look at government from a governance perspective, and I realized that our governance in government, both federally and provincially, is horrible. So things don't get done, and it's very expensive.
And it's just something that people consider, you and I were talking before the broadcast, people consider boring, and they just don't take it seriously enough.
Well, I don't know if they figure it's boring. It's just very frustrating. People look at politics and they go, like, what is this game that everybody is playing? And it is a kind of a game between the political parties. I mean, they're in a constant competition for control of government, and really nobody is ensuring that government serves us, and we're the ones that should be serving, not the political parties. Right.
It's the people have kind of, like you and I talked, the people have been left out of the equation.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, we talk about government, ruling parties. We have a system. We don't really have a democratic system. We have a system of elected rulers. We have elections, but elections are a tool of democracy, not evidence of democracy. So we elect rulers, they use government to manipulate government so that it spends money in certain ways to get them reelected.
Right.
They're not. They really aren't operating government for our good. It's to keep themselves elected. I mean, the political parties are in constant election mode instead of making sure our government serves us.
Let's talk about the U.S. election now. Super Tuesday is today. It's probably one of the most important days leading up to the election in November in the United States. Things are really changing as we speak in the last 48 hours. What's your feeling of what's going on down south of the border?
It's going to be extremely interesting and controversial. I think it would be really if it comes down to between Trump and Sanders, it's going to be extremely dramatic, and I don't think the U.S. People are going to be served very well by what's happening. It's a really horrible way to choose a CEO of such an important organization as a government. But then ours is equally as horrible, actually. It's again, we have systems. They're really not democracies. They're really systems where we elect rulers to rule us for a short period of time, and all that time they're trying to maneuver stuff so that they get reelected, not that we get served.
Right, and the thing is that they keep going like that. People in the United States are realizing that the country is becoming more polarized as the months go by.
It's been happening for decades now. The political parties there used to be a lot more honor and integrity in politics. There really isn't anymore. It's all about the political parties. The politicians need to serve the political parties first, because otherwise the political parties are going to discipline them, and the disciplining can result in the politician never serving the people of the United States or Canada again. And party discipline, it's a crazy system, because when you look at it, all political parties are lobby organizations.
Right.
But they're lobby organizations that have manipulated our system so that they, instead of just influencing politicians, they actually control them. They have to put the party before serving serving us, in our case, the people of Canada.
Right. Do you think that fact right there that you just talked about is the reason that the politics is getting more, United States is becoming more polarized?
It is. The political parties are really pulling the governance of the United States apart. they cater to, each party is catering more and more to a base that is far right or far left, and majority of people are somewhere in the middle, that and they're really lost to the whole system. The majority of people really don't care, other than government should be doing certain things to support them.
Right.
And really, that comes down to it. It's a government really shouldn't be an organization of rule. It's an organization of service.
Right.
It's all about we need government to do certain things extremely well for us, and everything else we need them to stay out of. But government tends to do a lot of things that to try to buy votes, which is something they shouldn't be doing. And the basic things we need, like transportation, education, healthcare, judiciary, police, those things are not as well supported as they should be, especially transportation, education, and healthcare, which are really the foundational needs that we have of government.
Right, and the thing is that you keep doing that, and you're going to turn off the electorate. In 2016, I think it was roughly 126 million people voted for the presidential election, and still the population's 320 million. So the voter turnout is well below what it should be.
Yes, and that's just because people don't see their vote as really making any difference. I mean, do you vote for one group of rulers or another group of rulers, both of which you know that are going to serve themselves first? So what do? I don't blame people for not voting. I vote every election,
Right.
but I know our past election, the one we just finished, and the ones coming up, actually, I really have to hold my nose when I vote. It's really, really tough to pick who is
exactly.
not who's the best.
Let's come back into this country and talk about the conservative leadership race, which is now the people running has been decided. The cutoff was the end of February. The vote is at the end of June. Let's talk briefly your thoughts on the conservative leadership.
Unfortunately, it seems to be a race to the far right at this point, in order to cater to that portion of the membership of the Conservative Party, and the problem with that is that the far right is not going to be able to. A far right mindset is not going to really resonate with
Right.
the bulk of people in the middle of politically in Canada.
Exactly.
And again, that's exactly what's happening. It's just the polarizing is putting our politics to really catering to far right, far left. And most of us and all of our needs are in the middle, not far right, not far left.
Right, exactly. We need to be more in the middle, and that's what gets elected. Al, I need you to hold that thought. We'll take a couple of commercial messages, breaks, and we'll be right back with On Point.
Sounds good.
In your home, lighting is just as important as style.
With PowerView Motorization from Hunter Douglas, you can schedule your shades to light up the room, create privacy, or both, automatically. No hands required.
So your shades will always be in the right place at the right time in style. And it's only from Hunter Douglas.
Angelo, it's me, Vito. Imbecile, your brother. Listen, you bring 10 gallons of flat eggshell white paint.
celebrating our 65th anniversary, dating back to services originating in our community in 1954, which is quite some time ago. It's been a great opportunity this past year to recognize the pioneers, the stakeholders that worked tirelessly to create what we are today. I'm grateful for everything that the families 65 years ago and the people that assembled the organization have done in order for us to achieve the success that we're experiencing 65 years later.
A message from the Government of Canada.
This is On TV.
Welcome back to ONNPoint. I'm Andy Martins. Thanks for staying with us. We're live on TV. We're live on Facebook at about 11:18, and we're talking governance. We're talking politics. And reminder to like us on Facebook, subscribe to the Superior Media channel on YouTube, and welcome back, Al. We're talking about we're back in Canada now, talking about the Conservative leadership race. Liberal provincial leadership races this weekend, and you're quite correct, as you got to make sure we choose the right leaders in this country, because they could both go dysfunctional on us.
I think it's going to be more likely to be dysfunctional. The political parties should not have this much control over our government. It's our government. It doesn't belong to the political parties. Political parties in a lot of ways are competing aristocracies. Mm-hmm. And the way they choose, I'm hoping it's for the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party coming up, I hope they choose better than the Ontario provincial election leadership race with Doug Ford, because that was a fiasco.
That's right. With
less than half of the members being able to count their votes, to me it was something that was extremely undemocratic within the Conservative Party, and also, but also, I really do not believe that political parties should be able to impose their choice of a leader of a party. Right. For us as a leader of government, actually, on us as a leader of government.
He makes valid points. The Conservative leadership there was just ridiculous, in the sense that Christine Elliott had that one, and just because Doug Ford got like 80% from 2 ridings in Toronto, Mississauga North, and Etobicoke, his Etobicoke riding, that gave him more points. So the party has itself to blame for coming up with this undemocratic way of electing a leader of the party, who in turn became premier, because Christine Elliott beat him on the other 2 categories that the party had.
It is, and actually, when you look at it, less than half of the votes were even counted in that leadership race. But then, actually, it really comes down to about 25,000 people maybe chose Doug Ford as Premier of Ontario?
Exactly. Maybe even less than that.
Probably less than that. There's no legitimacy to the parties choosing who's going to be the premier or the prime minister. The only real legitimate choice of prime minister and premier is Parliament, because those are elected representatives of the people. But the parties liked what they're doing. I mean, for Doug Ford's, I think they made about $130,000 on raffling off the premiership of Ontario. When you look at it, it was a membership raffle. You said you paid $10, you get to choose the probable future premier of Ontario. Not a great way of choosing a CEO of something as important as our government.
And why we're talking about this is because if the parties, the Conservatives federally, Liberals provincially in Ontario, don't make the right decision, we could have the same problem as the way Doug Ford was elected, but within the party.
It is. Actually, there's a quote from Oscar Wilde. It says, "Life under good government is rarely dramatic. Life under bad government is always so." We have very, very dramatic government, so we should be very, very worried. And all the drama is around the political parties, and the media is not helping this at all, because they report it like it's a horse race or a wrestling match or something like that. It's not. It should be choosing the people to oversee our government so that it serves us and serves us well. Mm-hmm. We don't need government to do everything for us. We need government to do certain things, limited things, extremely well, and then keep out of everything else. And we just have these elections and elect these people who basically get to decide everything the government does for the next 4 years without really any focus or effectiveness or real accountability, except to the political parties that are in power at the time.
Right, exactly. And you mentioned a good point that you need to kind of be in the center. The NDP never gets elected in Canada. Bernie Sanders probably, if he gets the nomination, probably won't win. Well, the left doesn't seem to realize that they will never get elected. We had that one fluke in Ontario in 1990, but am I right there? The governance, the way people think in both countries, more or less, the left chances of getting into power are really diminished.
I think there's enough of a culture in the United States that is anti-socialism, which is in some ways unfortunate and unrealistic. But anyways, I agree. Actually, I think the chances of Bernie Sanders actually winning is probably not. At the same time, when you hear this, that there's these things like that, Putin would like Trump to compete against Sanders for the presidency. That is, I can see that happening, because such a race would be extremely divisive for the people of the United States. It would really, really polarize the population of the United States. The other thing, though, too, is for Trump, I think, although I think he's got a fairly good chance of winning the presidency in the next election, I think his best move is to actually not run or lose, because my own feeling is that the likely outcome is probably going to be that Trump might win the presidency, but the Democrats are probably going to win the Senate, and if that happens, then Trump is going to be impeached again, and he will lose this time and probably end up in jail. What he would be charged with is extremely serious, not like some of the other impeachments. It's serious, probably more serious than what Nixon was faced when he resigned, because if Nixon had been convicted of what he was going to be impeached on, he would have served jail time.
In our remaining moments, Al, let's talk about key questions of governance. People don't take the time to, you need to know the role of members in any organization, the board roles. These need to be mapped out. And you mentioned in the meeting you had a couple of months back with Riley and yourself that you consult with companies that really don't know how good governance should be run.
There's very little good governance education, especially in fundamentals of good governance, and really it's all about service. Organizations are an artificial construct, and the reason they exist is to serve the ownership. And that is the board's job, is to make sure that the organization is focused on serving its members or owners or stakeholders or its citizens.
Right.
And if they don't realize that, if they don't embrace their basically trustee role, then the organization becomes almost self-directing, which means that it follows whoever the master is at the time, whether it's the employees, self-serving interest maybe on the board of directors or in or a small portion of the membership or of owners.
Exactly. You've got to watch that line and that. Al, I got to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming in again, and I really enjoyed the fascinating talk about governance, politics, and all of that. We'll be back to wrap up the show right after these messages.
It's hunting season, so this is probably pretty stupid, right? Actually, hunting accidents kill somewhere around 2 people a year in Ontario. Smoking kills 16,000 a year. So, what's really stupid?
Welcome back to ONNPoint. I'm Andy Martins. Next week we'll have Sandra Holmberg, David Reynolds, Rory Ring, Tara Barrell coming up this month, and also the Alzheimer's Society. Janice from the Alzheimer's Society will be there as well this month. So great guests coming up, and Karen Lefebvre from the Twinkie Foundation will be here in April. We'll see you next week. Have a great day. Take care.